Hello friends, I'm David Vos. It's good to see everybody today. Sun's come out here in Texas and it's pretty nice out. Just love this time of year. Friends, I was sitting here today thinking about building my dream home. And I thought, if I was going to do that, how would I build my dream home? And how would it differ? Because I like thinking outside the box. It's like we do things so weird. Like I remember back in the day, they used to make houses. And some of the houses would have doors on all of the bedrooms leading outside. Yeah, that was interesting. I don't know why they stopped doing that. Not something that I necessarily long for or miss, but they used to do that in some houses. They also would have, a lot of times they would have bedrooms that you would have to go through somebody's bedroom to get to the other bedroom. And I always wondered, well, why did they do that? Maybe it was because back in the day, mom and dad's room, they were always having babies, and maybe the baby room was off, next to the master bedroom where you keep the small children, and they could come into mom and dad if they needed you. You could hear the baby if it cried. For a long time, they went to this kind of deal where you would have the kitchen and the living room sort of opened up between the two. They came up with that idea to where you could be in the kitchen cooking or whatever, and they would be cutting onions and potatoes or whatever there on the counter. And they could chat with those individuals in the living room, lounging around watching the game or whatever, offer them a drink or whatever. It was all big open space, and I really like that innovation. We've done some good things. Modern homes have that openness in the living room, dining room, kitchen area. But the bedroom, of course, still has a door on it. Because, you're doing stuff in there that you don't want people to hear you. That's off in the back somewhere. But, of course, your bedroom still has that open windows. Or you're either up on top and you can overlook the whole neighborhood. Or perhaps you're in the country, you can overlook the terrain outside, a canyon and so forth. Maybe there's a balcony off of your bedroom. But it was sort of a secluded place where you could go in there and be alone. That's kind of the way things are today, kind of the way we're thinking. I know during the 70s, they used to have a thing that I don't even know if people have today, but they used to call them the den. And it was like the area where you had your television, and it was like, it's like invariably you had to step down a foot as you went down into this thing. And it was always this shag carpet. And boy, I tell you what, you're going to play hard trying to find that shag carpet today. Not too long ago, I had a house where I lived before, and I was thinking, man, I want to have some shag carpet, like in the old days as a kid. I remember laying on the shag carpet and just thinking, oh, this is great, man. It's like, this is what rich people have, right? Shag. Well, it's like nowadays, people don't have shag carpets. And it's really hard to buy it. I found one place that still had a roll of shag carpet. It was very expensive, and it wasn't the right color. It was like bright red. So I didn't get it, needless to say. But invariably, you would step down into the den. It would have this shag carpet, and it was dark in there. And there was big, thick, dark curtains. And you went in there, and it was like the family room. They had this big couch and all these chairs, and maybe it was a foosball or ping pong or a pool table. But it was where the family went and just spent time, watched television, laughed, talked, played games. You don't see that as much anymore. It seems like some of the houses nowadays are smaller. I mean, not only are we living in apartments, but it seems like people are living in smaller houses. There's more or less just a 1 or a 2, 3 bedroom house. You have the emphasis on more bathrooms now than you do bedrooms, right? It was like, it's not an addition of an extra bedroom, but it's more of an addition of an extra bathroom. Or maybe a certain game room or something. But things are still changing a little bit. But I have some plans, some modifications that you might think about. As I'm sitting here thinking about how I would build my future dream home, I thought of some ideas, and here's what I would do. First off, I would build a very safe place for me and my family. I would want the walls to be strong. I would want the walls to be impregnable so that no harm could come into my little nest. And I would want my home to be not just for me. You know, to start with, how big do I want this home? Well, think about it. I don't really want a hut, right? That's too small. I don't need just one room. I need an area to cook. I need an area to bathe. I need an area to put my books and my things and all my papers and all of my collections. So I'm going to need a big house. But not only that, I'm going to need more than just one bedroom. Because if I only had one bedroom, then that would suppose that I'm just going to be there by myself, just me and my wife, if I were married. But, I would want to enjoy the fellowship in a close community at least. I would want my family to be there. Now, sometimes that can be hard, especially if the family's kind of gone to pot. Certain members of the family are not doing too well, and they're constantly in prison or on drugs or constantly knocking on the door wanting stuff or having too much drama. That can be a bad thing. But you see, I'm not envisioning that family. I'm envisioning my family. This is my dream, right? So I want a home that includes the whole family. I want grandma and grandpa, and I want grandpa to be telling jokes and grandma to be in the kitchen, helping mom cook dinner, and they're going to be cooking these sumptuous feasts that's going to just, it's going to be amazing. And I'm going to have my brothers and my sisters going to be there. All my family. Like a big reunion. So I'm going to need either a home that is very large so that there's a place for everybody, or you might say a community where we all live in the same area, where we can get together whenever we want and enjoy each other's company. And when I'm down or feeling low, my family will be there for me, and they'll understand me. I'll never be alone. That's very important. So I suppose what I would want is a wall that is more like a mountain, so that people could cross the mountain, but if they crossed the mountain, they would have to actually take some time. It would be a little bit of a walk. And if they wanted to cross that mountain, they would know that they were coming into our territory, a place where we could enjoy our own life, safe and sound from any robbing bands or foreign powers that wanted to destroy us. So I would probably make my abode nestled in what I would say maybe a valley. And all around that valley there would be mountains that would keep us in this little paradise-like cove. I would envision that in the middle of this valley there would be this beautiful pond, almost like a lake. Crystal blue, maybe a little kind of green color, just as pretty as all could be. Feeding into the lake would be these falls that would be bounding down from the mountain. They would be gushing and flowing violently into the water, making the sound of a great waterfall. It would be a place where we could literally go and bathe, right? And because you see, the whole community that we're talking about would need a source for water. That would be the most important thing. Because without water, you're going to die. So, of course, we would need to be right in the center of our little home, right inside of this little valley, right in the middle would be this pond, this lake. And it would be fed by these waterfalls. And as the water left the lake and trickled down the stream, it would go down the valley and out the other side. There would be loads of fish We would spend our days just out laying on the banks of the river, fishing and enjoying our life and our leisure. We would swim together. This would be a river that was flowing very strong, so that no matter what happened, I mean, we could bathe in the water, and within a few minutes the water would just go downstream and everything would be as pure and as clear as crystal. You could drink out of that stream and think this was pure water. So the center of our life would be this pool, this water. It would quench our insatiable thirst, keep us refreshed, and we could keep clean. We could water all the plants that we would need to survive. We would have fruit trees growing all around, perhaps in a little orchard-like area, like a little paradise. There would be beautiful fruit trees and nut trees, bushes and flowers everywhere, like a garden. And this beautiful waterfall would be flowing through, and this beautiful pond would basically be the means by which we could irrigate and water the whole little valley. In that little valley, there would be some huge, massive trees, because I would really enjoy living in an area that in the summertime it got pretty warm, because you would need that great heat, because it takes heat like that to pull the seeds and make things grow. But of course you would have to have your 4 seasons, right? The changes of the leaves. You know, everybody likes to see a change. Of course it would get a little chilly in the winter and it would be kind of warm in the summer. But those big massive trees would keep you cool and you'd have shade. And of course there along the brook and there at the pond under these massive trees, you would have that protection and shade. You would also have the family dog who would protect you and the chickens, and he would bark when anybody came and alert you to any danger. You would have little goats running around through the hills that you could go and milk, which would provide you with cheese and butter. And of course Grandma could use that in the kitchen with Mom, and they would make these amazing dinners. The family would get together and laugh and play, and the guys would go out and milk the goats and bring in the butter and go out fishing and bring in some fish for the big bounteous meals. Kids would be playing and frolicking in the grass, and we would all live to be very, very old. Our memories of our lives would be great. We'd be able to think back on all the times that we spent together and laughed. There wouldn't be any pain or sorrow or any memories of Uncle Joe being in prison or Aunt Bobby being in the hospital dying of cancer. We would have no memories of that. But it would be like this giant reunion. Everybody was happy and together and laughing and full of love, kindness. And we knew that everybody was there for us and they had our backs. There wasn't any worry that some crazy foreign power was going to come in and rob and pillage us, because we knew that these mountains were safe. We were back in this area we called paradise, and nobody was going to harm us. And downriver, as it went downstream, there was this area where there was all kinds of berries growing. And in the summer, we would go down there and pick all these berries. Oh, it was amazing. We could make jams and pies. Those were the days. Then fall would come. We would have these big Thanksgiving dinner. And there would be cranberry sauce. There would be turkey on the table. There would be stuffing. And we would play games and laugh and tell stories and reminisce about the year and all that had gone on and all the exploration and things that we'd seen, the new things that we had learned. It would be amazing. Johnny would talk about the ancient caves that he found and the artifacts that were all over the cave floor. They looked like little arrowheads, maybe of times gone beyond and into the ancient past. This is how we knew that we weren't the only ones, that we had been here for thousands of years and we were going to be here for thousands more. That this wasn't just some passing fantasy, but this was real, and life was real. And the mountains were stationary, and the trees were immobile. They represented protection, justice. love, and goodness. And we were all there nestled together in this perfect place we called paradise. But the climate there in this little valley would be such that when winter came, you would need a house, someplace to get inside. So all the guys in the family and in the community would get together and we would build each other houses. We would all have our own little place. Because there's times when everybody needs that privacy. They need that feeling of having their own stuff. And so each family would have their own place. And we would build what we would call a village. You know, and Brother Jerry was funny. Jerry was the one who was always doing something a little bit outside the box. From the valley, where everyone lived in the little community, you could look up on the mountain, and there was Jerry. You had to walk about a mile to get to his cabin, because he was perched up on top of a ledge. He had a rock terrace going up to his place. And when you really wanted to see some beauty and some adventure, you would go visit Brother Jerry, because his place was absolutely amazing. He had a bird, a pet bird that he taught to speak. That bird was so funny, and he would fly away and always come back and perch himself there on the porch. And as we'd sit on the porch and overlook the entire valley from Jerry's cabin, that bird would sit and talk to us, and he would make us laugh. That's what I envisioned. A place where we could have ingenuity and inspiration, and we could be ourselves, and everyone would be themselves. Jerry in his cabin on the ridge, Bob and Sue made a houseboat, and they literally lived at the other end of the lake on a houseboat. They loved fishing and swimming, and every time you would go and see them, at any time during the day, they were always laughing and playing in the water. It was literally amazing. You would not believe the collection they had found of all of these different kinds of shells and rocks that they had found over the years. They were beautiful. And they kept their rocks at the shore as it led up to where they would dock their boat. And they would go out into the forest and have a garden. But whenever they wanted, they'd take their little houseboat and they'd go down the lake to the other end. And they would go and do their fishing. They loved their life living on that houseboat. And we all loved visiting them. Grandma and Grandpa were so proud of their family. And even great-grandma and great-grandpa were still alive. And we used to love to go and visit with them. And they would tell us the stories we knew all about the ancient days, from stories that they would tell from their great-grandma and their great-grandfather. We felt connected to the earth. We felt connected to the land. There was no danger. There was no worry of police coming and taking us all away. Why, if Jerry got involved with something that was a little bit nefarious, maybe he took a drug or something was going on in his life, he was depressed, we were all there. We were there to comfort him and to help him and to stand with him. There wasn't any disease because we ate healthily. And we got exercise, and we got the sunshine. We all had happiness. We took care of each other. Disease was unknown in our village. And we were never taught lies or propaganda. We didn't watch TV. We didn't sit around on the sofa just watching TV. But we were out exploring nature and working in the garden with our hands and watching the beautiful things that we planted grow. And enjoying the beautiful meals that Grandma and Mom and everyone would make. And we would just have these amazing, amazing times around the fire, especially in the fall. We would build huge bonfires. Oh, those were the days. Those were the days that I long for, even though I've never had one of those days. I actually think that is the perfect world to live in. I think that today, the world we live in, the communities that we live in these little modern suburbs, I don't think it is anywhere near the kind of life that we're supposed to be living in. I think it's all actually manufactured. I think we're ignoring the mountains and the protection that it affords. I think we're cutting down all the trees around us that are giving that protection, or would have given us that protection and that feeling of safety and beauty. And I think that our little parks and the little swing sets are getting boring. I think our children need to go out into the real world and see some real beautiful things, not just some state park once a year. I think we need to be living where we connect with the soil. I think we need to be watching the plants and the flowers grow. I think we need to be out there playing with the animals and taking care of them and learning to talk to the birds. I think we need to let people do something with their lives. I think we need to learn how to fly. I think it would be great if one of us invented a machine that would give everybody light in the darkness. But I don't think that machine should be causing us so much pain and death and stress. I don't think it should be making our lives more difficult. I think it should be making our lives better. And I think that that would be possible in a world that I have described. That's what I believe, friends. I think that's the world that we've got to get back to. We've lost that, friends. We have no idea. We only talk about the world that people may have lived in thousands of years ago. You know, we talk about them as though they were like cavemen, dummies, brute beasts, right? Running around in Tootsie skirts. But you know, maybe it's not true. Maybe that's the age, the golden age, that we should go back to, that we will return to. And maybe the only way to get back to that age and those times when all of this wickedness and heaviness just falls down of its own weight. Perhaps that's about to happen. And perhaps it's not as bad as you may think. Maybe this fear of the end of the world is not such a bad thing. Maybe that's what we should be actually looking forward to. Because the end of the world is not really going to be the end of our lives. But it may just be the beginning of a new world where there will be peace and happiness. And this time we're not going to forget where we came from. So friends, that's how I feel. And sometimes I feel it more than others. I'm going to go ahead and go. I hope you guys have a great day. We'll see you again tomorrow.